have a tight schedule.
And I will welcome Manuel to the screen. And man, what a great first session. Great way to kick it off, Barbara.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely. It was good. I got cold. Got cold here. Oh, down there. So we are excited to introduce Manuel from Helpful Village. One of our softwares. We're gonna because we're jam-packed, we have 45 minutes to let Manuel tell us everything we want to know about Helpful Village and then some. And keep in mind some time for questions at the end, Manuel, okay? And we'll help you with whatever you need.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everybody. I'm very glad to be here. I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Manuela Severo, and I'm the CEO and founder of Helpful Village. And it's a pleasure to be here at the V2V conference again this year. So let me move this window around. But basically, I would say that Helpful Village is the only village-only company. And how is that? Is because all our customers are villages. I created Helpful Village with the goal to make villages great with some technology, and that's what I want to present today. But before I do that, I wanted to explain you a little bit the background story and how I got involved with the village movement. And the reason I got involved with the village movement is that my mom basically was living best life. So she was taking care of her vineyard, which was her professional activity. She would produce some grapes and wine locally in her own land, and she loved that until the day she got knee surgery. So with her knee surgery, it suddenly became impossible to keep working. And then basically that sparked a conversation between my mom and myself, basically about, well, Mom, because you cannot keep walking the fields, maybe it's time to retire. And during this conversation, basically my mom said, well, I don't want to retire because I don't want to be at home doing nothing. And I thought she had a great point there. The other thing she told me is that she didn't want to go to a nursing home, and she made me promise me, you're not going to send me to a nursing home, which for me was very surprising because she was only 63, she got knee surgery, but there was no reason to be talking about nursing homes. I later understood that she was not talking about present day, but she was talking about what's going to happen down the road. So I think she raised two great questions, and then that got me thinking about, well, maybe what's the best aging option out there. And that's how basically I became a volunteer for a local village. So I got involved with the village movement. I was living in California and basically knocked at the door of the village. I became a volunteer. So this is me 5 years ago as I was entering the village movement. The other thing I did is that I found the idea so great, so fantastic. I thought it was the future of aging. So basically I wrote a proposal to the University of California, Berkeley. We're basically saying that with a little bit of technology and making the village movement super efficient, because we can make some automation, we can facilitate communication between members and volunteers, technology could be a game changer. And Berkeley liked the idea and they supported Helpful Village. Helpful Village is a UC Berkeley company. They helped us get off the ground with advice about how to set up a business, because I am myself an engineer, software engineer, so I knew a lot about technology, but not about creating a company, and their help was precious on the business side, one thing. Also on understanding aging in place, I used to work with Andy Sharlock, who's the professor for the School of Social Work, that is best scholar of the village movement at that time, and he was key to help me understand how the village movement worked. So next step in the story is what happened when I knocked on the door of the local village, right? I said, well, I'd like to help. I'm very interested in this model. How can I help? And basically they told me, well, Manuel, can you please sit in front of the computer, because none of our volunteers want to use the software because they find it too complicated, cumbersome, and clumsy. So I said, okay, perfect. I'm a software guy, give it to me. And when I sat in front of the computer, this is what I found. I found that actually the technology they were using was quite difficult to use, was complex and clumsy. And even myself, that I'm a technology expert, was having a hard time using it. And that's basically the foundational principle of Helpful Village. That's when I said, wow, this is a great idea, the village movement, but it would need kind of easy to use technology. And that easy to use is the foundational principle of Helpful Village, creating a platform that is easy to use for the village staff, but also for the village members and for the village volunteers, with everything that a village needs. So if you need a website, if you need volunteer management, membership management, etc., all that in the same platform that would be customizable, that would be affordable, that would have a high level of security with great reports. So that's how basically the company started 5 years ago. One of the things that the company does is doing a number of tasks semi-automatically. So what I found when I joined that other village, that there was a lot of basically labor-intensive tasks where you needed to copy this from here to there, etc., and the process was complicated. I think that it's very important that the staff and the volunteers focus their energy on the members, but basically that the repetitive tasks are being completed automatically. For example, we have a smart email that goes out every morning and goes to all volunteers personally, depending on their volunteer activities, on their availability, and basically from there, they can go to the platform and volunteer. There is no need for staff intervention at that point. Okay, next slide. So this is maybe the most important slide of today, so bear with me. What I wanted to talk a little bit about the future. So in my view, the first generation of villages relied on two main services. It's basically service requests. How can we help a member age in place? And another aspect, which was the social aspect of events. And there's a lot of hundreds of villages across the nation that do this great, and that's awesome. That's where we started. Now, Helpful Village has been reinforcing and making these two aspects great for villages. So I wanted to mention that Helpful Village does services. We actually improved it so that we allow now for COVID-safe services. So basically we have our customers recording which ones of their volunteers have, satisfy some health conditions like vaccinations and others, so that they are able to match with members for in-person services. Same thing for events. So we have a great calendar of events, but we took that one step further, in which it's possible to join the events from the village calendar with Zoom. So there is a button to join the Zoom meetings directly from the village calendar. But now what we think is also that those two things are the foundation of villages, but that villages can level up. We can do more than what we initially were doing. And I wanted to present a level of services that we think the best villages in the nation are starting to do and will be doing soon. So basically these additional levels are check-ins and village talk. So village talk is essentially interest groups. And I know Elise from Mill City Commons has a presentation about it. I think it's a great service of villages that a member can join different discussion groups, and we have a module for that in Helpful Village. And today I'll be introducing a new version of the check-ins module. It's basically a service of the village by which the village is just basically checking in with everybody, or with all members, making sure everyone is doing all right. And we have a great module that is only available on Helpful Village, and I'll be showing that today during the demo. And not only that, there is another tip of the pyramid, which is the health services. In our view, and with the data that we have been looking at and talking with our villages, we see that a lot of services are health related. They can be transportation to medical appointments and other things. So in our view, a village of the future needs to offer all these services. And I'll be discussing about what we do about health during this presentation too. Okay, so this is what we call the level up pyramid of services. Now, what we were thinking is that for today, I have a demo. I want to show you the actual product, but I don't want to spend too much time with the basics services of Helpful Village. So basically service requests and events, because that's just starting from zero. And there's many, established and great villages that should be looking at the, enhanced and the top of the pyramid services. So basically, if you're interested in learning about Helpful Village, how we do services and events, there is a separate, basically, webinar next week that we're organizing. You can use that URL. And basically the Helpful Village 101 will take place Wednesday next week at 2 p.m. Eastern for basically new villages that don't know anything about Helpful Village. We are taking it from scratch, basically doing a 101 about Helpful Village. But today, we want to focus more on the more advanced services that villages can do. So basically, we're discussing check-ins, village talk, and also a little bit about what we do about health. And basically, this is how Helpful Village is a platform that allows you to level up your village. Okay, so this is my last slide before we move on to the demo. Okay, so I'm just gonna draw basically here what's the situation. I'm gonna role play a demo. And what I wanted to do is that I'll be presenting and I'm talking as the village coordinator for this meeting. I'll be logged in as an admin and I'll be discussing with a new member. This new member that is entering through the door is actually Elda, which by the way is my mom's name. She's a member and volunteer. She's entering the office and I'm gonna show her basically what the village can do for her. That's basically the scenario of today's demo. And this demo will show her the services the village can offer. So at this point, I'm gonna get out of my PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna start on the Helpful Village website. So I'm gonna log in, this is our demo website. No, that one is a good one. Okay, well, I'm gonna start with a reset password and then. Let's open up my email, reset password instructions. You can change my password. Okay, now I'm logged in. Okay, perfect. So here's where we start the demo. I'm sitting down here. I welcome Elda, who is a new member. And as she sits next to me, I'm gonna show her the website. So basically this is Helpful Village. This is a website of your village. We have a homepage where we're explaining what our village is doing. And basically for new members, you can simply find a list of upcoming events on the website. So one of the benefits of our village is that you can join all these different events, specifically dedicated for older adults. You can find these events also under the events calendar. So you have, well, an event calendar, first of all, which is kind of a calendar view of all the events that you can classify with colors depending on the category of these events. You can see these colors here, and you can filter if you're interested in the educational events, the village events, etc. The other possibility you have is you can come to the event side and you can look at the events list. So on this events list, you have basically a chronological list of the upcoming events. So the village has the possibility to add these different pictures and description of the event. So there is poker, there is brunch, there is a yoga class, etc. So as a new member, you can join any of these events. For example, tomorrow, I recommend you join this great event, which is called a cooking class with Coco Cassidy. It's an online event, actually. And then if you click on that event, we're going to explain at what time is it happening, how many people can join. This event is free. Sometimes the village has events, event tickets for sale. You can do that on Helpful Village too. But at this time, what I wanted to show you is that you can join as a member this event. You can either register for this event ahead of time, or because Helpful Village is connected with our village Zoom account, you can simply click on this button, and this button is going to send you to the Zoom call of the village. We don't need to email you kind of Zoom links or any of that. You will find the way to get to the Zoom event directly on Helpful Village. By the way, when you register, you will also receive an email that contains a button to join the Zoom meeting. So this is how basically Helpful Village connects village events with Zoom. Another thing you can do is that you can come under the member area, and then you can create a new service request. If you need a little bit of help, if you're going to a medical appointment or something, you can come here and create a new service request. So I'm an admin, so I need to search for which member I'm creating it. Basically, I would be asking Elda, what does she need? Actually, she happens to need a ride for a doctor appointment. When is that happening? That's happening next week on Thursday. She would like to be picked up at 10. It's not a flexible date, it's not a flexible time, but there is an appointment time because actually she needs to be at the doctor at 11, okay? And now here, she's actually going to the Empire State Building, which is in New York City. And then she expects to be there for an hour. We have some notes here because she uses a walker, volunteers. This information is actually defined on her member space that I'll show in a minute, but you can edit this and unfold the walker as needed, right? So you can customize these notes. We offer hub and spoke functionality, which means that you can work by neighborhood of your village if you want to. And then you can also label this request as an important request. Actually, what our village does is that if it's a medical request, we consider it priority and we add the important label, right? So now we can just save. And as we do that, it's going to create a new service request for Elda that we can review here. Now it has the important label because it's a medical appointment, starts at 10, ends at 1 p.m. It's open. She's going from her home to the Empire State Building, actually, because we have her home address and the destination. Actually, Helpful Village is smart enough to produce a map from basically her home to the destination. You can add more trips if she needs to go to the pharmacy, for example. And then basically the map is also giving you how long would it take. So if you were to go there now, it's a ride that takes 25 minutes. So that can be useful for a volunteer that wants to know how long does it take. So we have different information. We have some admin features here that allows the admin to search for volunteers. You can also search a commercial provider. You can add an additional beneficiary. Maybe her husband is going with her. And I can also clone the request if it's, for example, a ride that she needs to do once a month. All these gray boxes here are for admins. And then basically this button is what a volunteer would do if she wants to complete this service request, okay? I'm not gonna spend too much time on service requests because as I said, we are demonstrating that in the one-on-one webinar next week. But basically the service request has been created and therefore it now becomes available to volunteers that can log into the platform, go into service requests, look at different volunteer opportunities there are, and you see that there are different activities for driving, organizing, gardening, etc. Helpful Village is going to highlight in blue, like this one that we just created, the drive for the doctor appointment. The blue ones are the new requests, basically, those that have been added to the system in the last 24 hours. So if you're a very active volunteer, you don't want to keep reading the list again and again, just can scroll down to the blue ones and say, oh, I'm interested in doing this. Let me see the details of this service request. And then, okay, from here, from her home to the Empire State Building, I see the details. If I'm ready to do that, it's very easy to volunteer. Just a big fat button that says I can do it, I volunteer, I click on it. And now, basically, there's a confirmation email that has been sent. And now the service request has changed. It's not open anymore. It has now been matched with a volunteer. It's actually me, myself, that I'm gonna give that right, and therefore it has been removed from the list of opportunities to volunteer. So, as I see here, the village is asking me to call the member within the next 24 hours to confirm the details about the meeting, etc. So, okay, so this is how you can get services. This is how you have been matched with a volunteer. That was pretty good. But now I want to let this new member other things she can do on the platform. So she can look at the list of preferred providers. She can engage on Village Talk. I'm actually going to show this in a minute. She can look at the member directory to see other members. If your village wants to do this, you can look at different newsletters of our village. You can renew your membership, or you can see a photo gallery of the different villages. So there's a lot of services. There's a lot of reasons for your members to log into the platform. One, because it's easy to use, because they can do it themselves if they want to request a new service request or register for an event, or because they have access to all these other things that you can see here, okay? Maybe the next thing that I want to do is basically show you the member profile. So one is Helpful Village is a person-centric platform. So it's very easy at any point, if you receive a phone call, if you have this person coming through the door, to search and then find the record of this person. So this is actually my Elda's record. So there is a picture for her. You can see that she's in associated membership. And this is the different information we collect about a person in the platform. By the way, any kind of person. This person can be a member, and you can see that she's an active member because she has a green dot here. When we see that it's an active volunteer, she has a green dot here too. We store a lot of information about the people in the village, contact information on the general tab, her email address, her first name, last name, date of birth, local village, phone information, different tags. I can give her rights. If, for example, she's an events manager or other things, I can define that here. This person has an address, so we enter the address. We actually provide the admin also with a map where she can see where she lives, what's her neighborhood. We can look at her membership status, and then basically we can see here that she's an active member since this date with this expiration date. At this point, I want to also explain that it's possible to basically renew the membership. You can do credit card monthly payments for Helpful Village. And also you can just simply do a one-time, once a year renewal. And here I want to show you this because this is also something new that I wanted to show our customers. Because when you're renewing your membership, basically we're gonna show you these different things. What's the current expiration date, the fee, etc., and all these other things. The associated members, because when we're renewing for one member, it's gonna renew for both of them. And actually we have different payment methods. So the member can actually renew from home. They don't need to come to the office, so they can do credit card options. And we just recently, and we are announcing today, a new payment method, which is the automated clearinghouse, which is actually the possibility to register the bank account of the member. Obviously, only if the member wants it. But basically, this person can now pay through their bank account, and that's a new payment option we're introducing today that is cheaper for your village, because credit cards, they make a larger fee, but if we draw the money from the bank account, it's cheaper for your village. So we have added this additional payment method. So credit card that we had already, automated clearinghouse, so bank account that is new, but also members can pay by check, by cash, or any other method if they want. Okay, so that was about membership renewal. Let me keep showing information about this member. Wanted to show other information that we store about this person, so we can store the doctor, primary doctor of this member, the phone, email if the member wants to give it. Here is some information that is going to be reused in the service requests. So remember that we saw a note that was added automatically to the service request, comes from here. Uses a walker, volunteers need to have a space in the trunk. We can customize this note for the next time. Can also have an admin alert, which is a way for admins to make a note that volunteers do not see, but that I want to be reminded of when I'm creating a new service request. So as an admin, I would see that she got knee surgery and she cannot walk fast. It's not something I want to publicize, but it's something I want to know when I'm interacting with the platform. Only the admins do. Here is a new feature for our customers that is we're very excited about. We are going to show the demo later today. It's a check-in frequency. We think villages should be calling their members and showing them that the village cares. Maybe the staff is calling, but maybe also your volunteers are calling them, but we want to make sure that everyone is doing all right. Now, we don't want to call them every day because that's maybe too much of a phone call operation, but we can define here with the members, like, hey, we would like to be in touch with you. We can define how often do you want the village to basically check in with you, or a volunteer to check in with you. In her case, it's 7 days. So basically we have decided here that for this member, every 7 days, we want either a volunteer calling her or the office calling her to make sure she's all right. Maybe for a different member, you will have 14 days, but now your village can choose the check-in frequency. And we're very excited about this new feature. I'm gonna show that later today. So plenty of other fields you can enter here, like the first emergency contact, second emergency contact. You can add references if this member was recommended by someone. You can add the information about pets, about living room chat, about the emergency plan, about the current health, and all the other questions that our villages have helped us and they are collecting. So there's a long list of information that your village can collect about a member or volunteer. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next one. It's a volunteer tab. So basically this is my mom's volunteer activities for the village. You can choose either, maybe she doesn't need to be a volunteer, this would be empty, but she decided to be an active member and an active volunteer. And these are her volunteer activities. Now she is doing computer assistant. She doesn't want to volunteer anymore for this. We would remove this checkbox. She's still a driver. She does friendly visits, she does gardening. So these are activities that she does for other members, what we call volunteer services. And this village builder, which is a volunteer activity she does for the organization, for our village. We have volunteer notes, which days is she available, what are the volunteer start date and end date. And basically here I want to highlight a few things. First, there is a vacation period. If she goes on vacation for some time, we can enter that here. Actually, she can enter it herself on her personal profile. And basically she does not receive volunteer emails during her vacation time. Then here I wanted to show two important things we added this year. First one is that this screen volunteer, basically checkbox. So volunteers need to be screened and satisfy the vetting steps of the village to be here. So she is. And we added this year this checkbox that is super important, safe service clearance. So basically villages are defining different policies. And we have villages, for example, that say, hey, volunteers that want to do in-person services, they need to be vaccinated. And therefore this checkbox is what helps villages keep track if their volunteers can do in-person services or not. So here, as a volunteer, she cannot do in-person services. If I check this box, suddenly she can start seeing in-person services volunteer activities. So this is basically how we made COVID-safe service requests. Okay, there is other new stuff that we had that we wanted to announce to our customers. First, vetting steps we had before. We have a possibility here to record the fact that we did, for example, village agreement, right? And we ask all our volunteers to enter that we received today, the volunteer agreement signed, and it's valid for, let's say, 2 days, etc. So you can add vetting steps here manually to keep record of that. But now we're announcing today a new, exciting new feature into Helpful Village, is that now we have made a connection for automatic background checks. So starting this month, basically we have connected with another provider that is running background checks. And basically from Helpful Village, you don't need to go to a different platform, just click this button. And basically that's gonna request to our partner a background check. It sends an email to your volunteer. The volunteer is gonna enter his information, his name, address, social security number, and basically there's a background check that is run for them. And basically when our partner finishes their background check, basically this will turn into green or red. And basically if it's green, basically the village administrator will receive a notification so that this person passed the background check and they can be therefore added as a screen volunteer. So this is I know villages were running background checks on separate platforms. That's another example where we wanted to make it easier. And it's now part of the Helpful Village offering, is that you can run background checks from the same platform and basically have all the vetting steps connected from Helpful Village. So that's one of the other announcements we have at this event. Let's keep showing you here. I'm going to skip some of the things. Basically, this prospect task is different tasks the village can do to recruit new members, recruit new volunteers, recruit donors. So you can set up a kind of a to-do list for people that are prospecting for your village. We have different payments that have been recorded for this member. They're kept on her profile. We can have notes where we can make notes about what things we want to remember about this person. We have an activity tab. Basically, here is where we have the possibility to record all the villages that our village has sent these members. So we send her some information about thank you for your donation, friends invite, thank you for your membership application, etc. So you can send an email message to this person with email templates. A great feature. I'm not showing it today, but I'm going to be showing it next week. Text messages, if you don't want to send by email, you can also send by text. So that's another possibility. You can send text messages from Helpful Village. We can see here all the events she has participated in. So she's very active. And then here you can also see the service requests that she has received as a member and all the service requests that she has done as a volunteer. But I'm going to scroll that, but basically you can see the level of activity of this member. Now I'm going to show you another new feature that we're announcing today. Is on the docs tab. It's basically here where you can store different documents about this member or a volunteer or just a person. So basically if you're scanning, I don't know, an insurance card or something, you can add that document to her profile. There's something also new that we are showing here, that you can apply a Word template for this person. So basically, if you come here and you say, okay, for Elda, I want to print actually a membership renewal template. I want to apply a Word template that I created and upload it to Helpful Village. And if I click apply template and download, just downloaded a Word document. You can see here. And then it's opening Word. It's actually pages on my my document, and this is going to create a template with my village head letter with the information about her expiration date, etc. So everything is ready. I just need to print, put it in an envelope, and this go out. So this is how we're saving time also for the village administrator. So basically, a lot of things you can do for this member and volunteer. Let me show some of the other things I wanted to show you here. I promised before that I wanted to show about Village Talk, some of the announcements we are bringing this year to the conference, that members can actually join different conversations and basically have a discussion group. The discussion groups is about different groups, and we have improved Village Talk this year a lot. So basically now there is an interest group catalog. So if you click on this link, it's going to show you all the different groups, discussion groups that our village is offering. There's a group for announcements. Basically, this is what would happen if the village needs to tell something to all members. But there are other interest groups. There is a book club. There is a COVID-19 information discussion group, a healthy aging group. There is a men's coffee group, etc. So we encourage basically all members to join any of these discussion groups. For example, if I want to see for the book club, I can visit the book club, this interest group. And then from here, we can see other conversations that have been going on for other members that are interested in the book club. So which book would we recommend for this month? There's a great new book that came out, etc. So you can browse different interest groups. This is a book club, but if I'm interested in healthy aging, I will go into this conversation. So I think giving your members a possibility to have more online conversation through interest groups is great. And therefore, for that reason, we have improved Village Talk and interest groups. But I want to show you basically another great feature we have is the check-ins actually. So as I said before, we recommend our villages, and this is a new service, even for our customers, this is completely new. We recommend that all villages have a way to make sure that all their members are doing all right. And for that, you can use the check-in module. On this check-in module, basically what we're gonna do is that we are gonna do a check-in with all of the members, and then basically it's gonna draw a dashboard about how is your village doing. For each one of your members, it's gonna show that this person is feeling great, so it's a 5, 4 is he's doing good, 3 he's doing medium, and then the people that are at 1, they are not doing well, they are feeling terrible, and basically you need to keep an eye on that. So basically one of the added value services of our village is that we make sure that we keep regular contact with our members. And then for this, I'm gonna show you how this works. So basically I'm gonna do a check-in with you. I'm actually seeing here that we didn't check in with Elda for a long time, and she was doing medium on the 30th of September. So now if I click here, this is today, I'm gonna enter a new check-in for her. So basically, and this check-in, either it's the staff that is doing it, but your volunteers can do it too. You can pair volunteer with a member. So the volunteer can call Elda, finds the phone number here, she can call. It's actually making a phone call today at this time. So this is automatically in Pacific time at this time, but for your village, is obviously your local time. You receive the guidelines your village wants you to mention when you're calling your members. So for example, there is a village party next week on October 13th, and there is a COVID booster vaccination campaign that you should let the member know about. So at this time, you go back here, call the member, and when you're talking to her, we're asking the volunteer to collect some information. For example, how is she feeling? And basically, in this case, I asked her these different things. She's actually feeling excellent, so that's awesome. I can ask her about how associated members is doing, how is your partner doing, or other person that are with you. But in this case, I'm only recording information for her. Maybe my village wants me to ask if this person needs groceries, if this person needs medication, or this person needs a call back, right? So I record this information in these other case things. And basically there is a comments area here with basically saying member would appreciate a call about the village party. Okay, now we have conversation topics. So basically we're inviting the volunteer to say, okay, what did we talk about during this call? So basically we talked about the weather for 5 minutes. We other talk about the village party for 15 minutes. And then I also discussed about basically about the wedding, because her daughter is basically getting married, and basically for 25 minutes of the conversation, just we were talking about that. So basically, it's a recording of what did we discuss about. So basically, 30. This basically was a 45-minute call, and that's it. So basically, this is how I did my phone call. Now, if I save this, It's obviously going to be recorded in the database, going to be accessible by the village, so the village administrator can see this person is going well or not. And then obviously it's going to update here our check-ins dashboard. So basically we see here that she was doing medium, but today she's doing excellent. So it's gonna you definitely want to keep calling your members so that everyone is in the green area here, because that means that everyone is doing great. You can start check-ins, you can do a check-ins per week. This is daily view, but you can also see how she was doing a month ago, etc. So the check-ins feature is super exciting. We are super excited to discuss about our customers and future customers, about how we can help them manage their phone calls to members. But at this point, I need to skip and stop the presentation here because I need to go back to the slides. I hope you liked the demo. Oh, oops, that was the wrong button, because actually what I wanted to do is come here to my slides. Okay, so this was a quick demo. Obviously, only had a few minutes. I just wanted to let you know that Helpful Village has many more modules than what I had the time to show today. We have check-ins and Zoom, as I showed on the top level. We also have a prototype about Alexa, so our members can discuss with Alexa. It's not available to members yet, but we're interested in that topic. And we have a website, menu management, donations, payment, credit cards, providers, reports, my profile, village talk, concierge services, volunteer matching. All of these things we will be demonstrating next week. Now, we also think that villages need to think about the future. And for us, the future of villages involves a health module. So that's the last thing I wanted to show you on my demo side, is that Helpful Village has entered this space. Maybe all villages are not ready to do that, but I wanted to show you that it's part of the future. And what we're doing is that you can search a person in your database, and basically one of the tabs that we had here, there's a new tab that we're adding, it's basically a health tab. So basically in this space, what we are doing as our first step on the moon, basically, is that we can keep track of the vaccination record. So basically here, this person received a COVID SARS vaccine, Moderna, with dose 1 on this date. It's valid until, well, it doesn't matter because we don't have a second dose, needs a second dose, got the second dose here on this date, and therefore it's valid for a year, etc. So now we keep track of this health information. Now, actually, just to let our customers know, it's technically ready. It's not, but it's under legal review. So we're working with our partners, in particular, partners in Washington, D.C. To have a legal review so that we can start offering to all villages, because it's keeping records of health. So we need to be super sure about HIPAA and other things. So get ready about health, because I think it's part of the future of villages. Next, I wanted to tell you a little bit about our company. So company started in 2016. We had 0 customers at that time. We are on this rapid growth. This is the number of villages using Helpful Village. We have been growing very rapidly every year, including last year. In the middle of COVID, when villages were hesitating and not as quick as we're doing, it definitely slowed down our growth a little bit, but we keep adding more villages. And now after COVID, on this post-pandemic, we are expecting this high number of villages signing up. So basically, we want to thank the movement. We see a huge transition of villages going to a newer, easier to use platform. This is the geographical distribution of those villages, where basically we're present, East Coast and West Coast. I wanted to have a special mention from Washington, D.C., because we started there with 1 village. It shows the growth of our company. 1 village started using because it was working for them. They let their neighbors know. And now this basically is the number of villages in the District of Columbia that are using Helpful Village. So virtually basically everyone, except maybe 1 village or 2. And this is one example. Not only there in Helpful Village, we are very interested in increasing diversity. So basically we are supporting villages of diverse backgrounds, African-American villages in DC and Columbus. And we are very proud to say that we have helped, and we're helping Pueblos en la Comunidad, which is the first Spanish-speaking village in the country in Florida. So our software is available in Spanish also. So if you have a diverse project, you want to help, different neighborhoods, Helpful Village is the solution of choice. I want to say a word about pricing. So basically, there is a monthly fee. If you have an in development village, it's very affordable. It's only $30 per month. There is an enrollment one-time fee of $300. And basically, that makes that it's a no-brainer to sign up for Helpful Village, because it's easy and affordable. And you know what? Actually, most of the in-development villages in the movement are adopting Helpful Village today. So if you're in development village, the choice seems to be pretty pretty clear. If you're established village, it's a little bit more complicated. We have a monthly fee of $1 per member per month, which is super affordable. It's just the cost of a coffee per month. So if you can afford that for one of your members, you can afford Helpful Village. The enrollment fee is maybe a little bit tougher. It's a one-time fee because we need to migrate the data, and it costs $3,000. So that's the only moment where maybe you have some chance with some villages. But the good news is that we have already done more than 30 migrations from Club Express. So we have set up an easy migration process. You export a spreadsheet file, set of spreadsheet chart from Club Express, and then we get them into Helpful Village. And that allows you to go from basically a basic level of services to a full range of services for your village. This is basically what everyone seems to be doing. So that's kind of cool. We have also tools for collaboration inter-village, and I invite you all to participate, to attend. There's a taxonomy project conversation where we're doing rate reports that is being used regionally in DC, talking also with the villages in Columbus, Ohio, and basically that we can produce a report for a collection of villages. And so this is an example of the aggregate report. For the impact report, reporting is super important for Helpful Village, so you'll find a great set of reports. There is a number of our customers that are presenting during the conference, and we invite you to attend. Also ask them what do they think about Helpful Village. There is a taxonomy presentation that I'll be presenting also with Capitol Hill Village on Thursday, 12:45. So that's cool. I wanted to have a word to introduce you to our team. So I'm the founder and CEO, but we have Lucas as a software engineer, Parker, who is more on the business side, and Christina, who is also in charge of all our customer success and support questions. This is a summary, a takeaway of our presentation. So maybe if you need to take a print screen, this is what I would say. All the new things, cool new things we're presenting today. There's a webinar next week, safe service clearance, ACH payments, word templates, a lot of new great features, and basically new features for collaboration among villages. I have one last slide before we go into questions. Is that we invite all villages to level up. If you're doing services and events, I think we would like to suggest you start thinking about doing more. What else you could do for your members, and then level up your village. If you want to do that, and if you want to do that with us, we invite you to join the high quality platform that is Helpful Village, that makes a village complete. And basically, if this is not enough, just maybe do it because everyone else is doing it. So we would be happy to talk to you and help you transition to Helpful Village. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to take questions if we still have some time.
So Manuel, I've taken, you had a ton of questions in the Q&A, and you're not going to have enough time to answer them all, but I did just put them into Parker, who definitely, went ahead and answered a lot of the questions that came through. I think there's only a couple of stragglers out there as far as people, and we'll save the chat so that you can see it also. And I did acknowledge who sent it, so you can see who you can follow up with or talk to us about it. And there's one more in the chat. I think that's about how long does a new registration last, and do you offer services in Canada?
We definitely do be happy to help our friends in Canada, elsewhere actually. So worldwide, we anyone that wants to start a village, we're happy to help. And how long does it take? So for in new villages, right, it's easy to start. So basically we can get your platform up and running for the next day in 24 hours. Your established village, we have a migration. Usually it takes about a week to get all your donations in, but we offer a free trial. It's a 30 days free trial, totally free. If some people want to give it a try, we can get that up and running also in 24 hours, no commitment, and totally free. So we are happy to help everybody.
Last but not least, if you don't mind putting your contact information into the chat, and Parker,
Yes.
Anybody who has additional questions, we're going to pull in our next presenter simultaneously. Steve, if you don't mind.
Yep, thanks.
And don't forget, any information that you might think of, email us after the fact, and we will get that information to Manuel and to Parker if you have additional questions. So with that being said, thank you, Manuel, Helpful Village team, and we welcome Dan Ehrman with Run My Village.
All right.
Oh, Dan, you're fancy. You got the mute going though.
Yeah, unmute. Dan.
You'd think after this amount of time on Zoom that we'd know that stuff, but
I
thank
know, that's okay.
you. Barbara,
Welcome, Dan Ehrman with Run My Village. Take it away.
all right, thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Steve, for all of the work that you're doing behind the scenes. And welcome, everyone. My name is Dan Ehrman, and I am the founder, co-founder and CEO of Club Express, which some of you may know of as Run My Village. So let me just share my screen here. And there we go. What I'm going to do is run through a very brief, like 2 or 3 slides, presentation about Run My Village and Club Express, and then we'll switch over and we'll do a demo, and hopefully we'll have time for everyone's questions. So Run My Village is part of, oops, let's go over here. There we go. Run My Village is a brand of Club Express. Club Express was founded in 2003. We launched version 1 of our product in 2004. And there are thousands of clubs and associations around the world that run on our platform. We're essentially a platform designed for membership-based organizations. We started working with the Village to Village network in 2009, just as the network was getting set up and around the time of the very first Village conference. And the Village to Village network website and membership database actually runs on Club Express. Around 2010, we started talking to the network and to a number of villages about adding special functionality to the Club Express platform specifically for villages. And we are a formal partner with the Village to Village network. And we've enhanced that functionality over the years, keep adding features and improving the platform. We have, I think at last count, well over 150 villages that run on the platform. And Run My Village is actually, a brand within Club Express. So when you use the Run My Village product, you're running on Club Express with all of the enhancements that are part of, the Village functionality. We work very closely with the Run My Village users group. And think of this as the platform that can run the complete front office and back office for your village. So we give you all of the functionality necessary to track members, prospective members, volunteers, contractors, the services that your village provides and the service requests, an event calendar, donations, and a bunch of other stuff that you see over there in the right-hand column, including, very powerful security, credit card processing, and communications. So that gives you a very quick overview about, the Run My Village platform. What I'd like to do is jump right in and have a look at the platform itself. So we're on a demo village here. Actually, let me log out. We're on a demo village, which we call the Rolling Meadows Village. So this is a completely fake village, but it's also available for you if you want to, go in and explore it. We give you all of the tools necessary to build out and maintain the website with areas of the public, with areas for members, and the same website with areas for admins. So I've actually logged in now using the Remember Me function, and I'm logged in as Martin Smith. Martin is a full administrator of the village and the website. We have multiple levels of security built in, and you can have as many people as you need at each level. The security is very, very granular. When I go to the administrator control panel, it takes me in here, and you can see that there are a number of tabs across the top that allow us to manage people, village services, the website itself, and some of these different aspects here. But we're looking directly at the services tab, and I want to jump in and show you exactly how we manage services, how you can create service requests and manage those. And then we'll show you how some of those pieces get put together. So we start out by going to member services, and we come into a very powerful search function here. And I'm just going to click the search button. Actually, let me pick 9/1/2021, click search. Okay. So what we have here are a list of service requests that fall into a number of categories. And you can see that these categories are color-coded. So we can actually see the different colors. So this is a home request, which is in yellow, transportation requests, office time, things like that. Here is the member. And when I click here, I can see the details of that member. I can see the details of the request and whether any service providers have been assigned to that request. I can also edit the request. So let's go down to one that's coming up in the future. This is a member home request. And I can see the details of that home request. And we give you a lot of options behind the scenes to control exactly what you see on the screen here. There are some villages that need a fairly simple screen to track service requests. And there are other villages that need a lot of options. So here we can see the details of the requesting member, the date that the request was created, and the requested date. Here is a description of what was needed. Is there a location? And then service providers who might be assigned to the request, special instructions, and the status. And actually, I think it's going to be a lot easier to see what's going on if we jump in and actually create a service request. So let me click on a transportation request, and it brings up a new one here. I'm going to select a member from our database. I'll select Nick Hamilton, and it immediately shows me the details of Nick Hamilton, his contact information. I can look at Nick's history. I also see this member alert icon, which tells me that there might be a note about that member that I need to be aware of. I can then look at the service request. So let's say 10/12/2021, and all of these all of these times here are optional. Let's say that we have an appointment at 10:30. The date and time is not flexible. Actually, yeah, let's say it is flexible. And the description is, well, let's call this a medical appointment. Okay. Now we select the service category, and we have a number of different categories here. I'll select transportation to medical. In this case, it's a medical trip. The starting location is automatically the member's home, and I can select the destination from a list of standard destinations that we create. So let's say, for example, it's Barry Smith, who's a podiatrist. I select that, and I see all of those details as well. It could be a one-way or a round trip, and we optionally can assign multiple service providers to each request. In this case, we'll say that there's one service provider. Now, when I click on this button here, it's going to show me a list of everyone who provides medical trips and who's available on that date and who has been fully vetted. So you can see these are volunteers, and they're fully vetted, and they are available on that date and time. And what I can do here is select, say, 2 or 3 people. And what I've now done is I've added those people to the service request. Now, that doesn't mean that they're automatically going to provide the service. What it means is that they're potentially available to provide the service. And I can click this button here to send a request to all of those people who are to be contacted by email to tell them about this request and to see if they're available. Now, that's one way of assigning people to a service request. We actually have 2 other ways, which I'll talk about in a moment as well. For Ryan, who needs to be contacted by phone, I can click here and get Ryan's, and if we had full contact information in the database, I'd see Ryan's phone number, and I could contact Ryan by phone. I can also see a number of other pieces of information about these service providers. If it turns out that someone's not available, I can remove them. I can also check their availability and their history and the vacation calendar to see, if they might not be available, perhaps for the whole week. There's a number of different status options here. For example, when we send out the new requests, the status will automatically change to emailed, which tells us that we've notified those people by email about this particular service request. I can leave messages, call back. If someone says they're not available, I can change the status. They might be available. Perhaps, perhaps Ryan is selected. So once we have one or more people selected for the service request, I can send the confirmations, and those get sent out, and that confirms not only to the member, but also to the service provider, or service providers, plural, that they've been selected to handle this request. And I can also send the not needed email to everyone who might have been contacted about this request to tell them that they're no longer needed. Now, there are some special instructions here that were brought over from Nick's portfolio record. And once I've got somebody selected, I can change the status to confirmed. Actually, when we send the confirmations, this will change automatically, and I can click Save. And when I go back to the Service Request Manager, it takes me automatically to this Nick Hamilton request. It's a transportation request. Ryan was assigned. I can go in and edit the request if I need to. You notice when I go back up here, and this is really designed for villages that have a lot going on. We have a lot of villages in Club Express that are doing, in some cases, I'm sorry, let me say that again. We have a lot of villages running on Run My Village that are doing, in some cases, you know, hundreds of service requests per week. And they need something that's industrial strength that allows them to filter in different ways. So we can look at different types of service requests. We can look at the different categories here, and you can see all the different categories in the color coding. We can look at the status, and we can filter in lots of different ways. We support different kinds of providers. You have non-member volunteers, might be students, they might be stay-at-home mums or dads, members who also volunteer, and contractors who provide services. We can filter by service request number, dated or undated requests. For example, I can see a lot of undated requests. Let me change the date filter here. Oops, what's going on? Get rid of the date filter, there we go. Date filter came back. Not sure what's going on here. Every presentation always ends up with a glitch of some kind. Hopefully that's our glitch. There it is. We'll definitely look into that. So you can see there might be requests which have been entered into the system that haven't been assigned a date yet, so that you can work with the member, or the service provider can work with the member to actually pick a date. So, you know, a lot of different search options. You can move forwards and backwards. And there are different types of requests that are available. So transportation requests have a number of fields on the form that talk about, you know, transportation, having to take the member somewhere. Home requests hide all of those fields. They're simpler. And we also have office time requests, which are simpler still, where a member might be coming in and helping within the office. Now, when we have a service request that's been handled, we can also come in and mark that service request as complete, and you know, verify the information. But we can also optionally get comments and ratings from the member and from the service provider, so we can track the, you know, how the service request went. We can track the duration, whether there are any expenses, the number of trips that were made, the amount of time that was spent. And then there are reports built into the system that allow you on a monthly or an annual basis, for example, to aggregate all of that information. So when you're going out for grant requests, there are reports which will help you show the benefit to the community. You know, in the past year, we did 1,200 service requests, we did thousands of hours, and multiple trips, and all of those statistics, you know, are potentially available. Okay. Now, when I go back to the control panel, let's look and see how some of this comes together. When I click on services, we start out by managing categories. And these are the different categories that this particular village has. And remember, this is a demo, so there's a lot of sort of extra stuff that's in here. Here is, transportation requests, for example. And I can edit this and it'll show me all of the information that's available. Is it visible? Do you want to include in the open requests email, which I'll talk about in just a moment? Is the category available to everyone or only selected member types? So some villages, for example, have different levels of membership, and some memberships may not include transportation services. So we can exclude those automatically. Once I've done that, now I can look at all of the different service requests that are available. So for example, within transportation, I might have airport trips, family trips, grocery trips, pharmacy pickups, things like that. I can also have specifically transportation trips that are medical related. And in this case, there's only one of those. So you get to define what categories of services you're providing within your village. And then you get to determine the individual services that you provide within each category. So for example, I can go to technology help and I can see and really get down to a very granular level, the different kinds of services that the village provides to members. I can also have the option of turning certain service requests off. So for example, if we have a college student who's helping our members with Skype issues, and that student's not available over the summer, we can turn that particular service that we're offering on or off, and then it's no longer available. Okay, we go back to the control panel, and now we come to the list of service providers. So service providers are those people that provide services to your members. And they can be contractors like plumbers or roofers or gardeners, electricians who charge for their services. And many villages will vet those people and will actually make recommendations to the members. You can have members that provide volunteer services, and you can also have non-members who provide volunteer services. So let's get rid of the contractors and let's just click search. And we can see a list of service providers here with a lot of options that are available to them. If I click on the service provider's name, I get their full contact information. I can see the type, whether they're currently visible, the last service they provided. If your village is tracking ratings, you can see average ratings, whether they're fully vetted or not. And here is where we can start working through the list of services that they provide and the configuration settings for each member. So for example, I can edit this non-member's contact information. And I have the basic set of fields here that allow me to edit the contact information for that member, or non-member in this case. I can also then assign service providers to the services that they provide. So here's the list of services that this village provides, and I can check off all of the things that this particular member does. So for example, this might be someone who does medical trips, but they're not really a techie, so they don't do Facebook help. And what we're really doing here is taking service providers and assigning them to the services that they're available to members. I also have the ability to look at their history. I can write notes about members. I can look at their availability. Now, the way we handle availability is by obviously dividing the week up into 7 days and then dividing each day up into 4 separate time slots. If someone tells you that they're available on Tuesday between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, then we can check both of those time slots. And they might get a service request that's for 9 o'clock, and it's easy enough for them to say no. But if they get a service request that's for 11 or noon, then they might be available to do it. We can also check any time, and then that will make them available for that whole day. We also have the ability to track vettings at a very fine degree of granularity. So every village decides what kind of vettings they need each volunteer to go through in order to be fully vetted. So we can add a vetting here, and this list is actually customizable. There's a basic list that's built in, and then each village has the ability to turn off the vettings they're not using and add their own vettings in as well. So we can do a background check authorization, we can specify the date, some additional information, the notes, who entered it, and we can save that. And it gets added to the system, and everything is date listed. Vettings can also have expiration dates, and then the system has a report that you can run every week or every month that shows you what vettings are coming, need to be renewed. Now, the vettings, some of that is governed by state law or county law. For example, you might need to run a criminal background check or a sex offender check for someone that's providing transportation services. You need to verify insurance and driver's license and things like that. Some of it is village policy. Many of the villages have an orientation seminar that you want your volunteers to attend. You might also require, a couple of references. It's really up to each village to determine when a volunteer is fully vetted, and when they are, you simply check this box here and then click apply, and that vetting status is updated. And so now we can see that Charlie Anderson here is fully vetted. Now there's a number of other options here. There's the vacation calendar, detailed contact log, additional contacts, a bunch of reports related to that member. We don't need to go into all the little details. The point is that this is industrial strength management for villages, the services you provide, and the people who provide those services. Let's go back to the control panel. So here, for example, vetting types. This is where you customize the vetting types that are available. For villages that are hub and spoke villages, we use a feature in the platform called metro areas that allows you to define the different metro area. Each metro area represents a spoke. Each volunteer can be assigned to a metro area, and each member can be assigned to a metro area when you need to find someone close by who can provide that service. Here is where you can manage standard destinations. So we see the list of standard destinations that are available. You can add a destination, get added to the list. You can also remove destinations that haven't been used, or if it's one that has been used, but they're no longer at that location, you can leave it in here for integrity purposes, for history. But what you're doing then is deactivating it so it doesn't appear on the pop-up list. So all of these are the configuration options. Let me just show you very quickly under service options here. You can see for all the different request types, we can enable, responsible staffer. We can enable an option if somebody needs to be carbon copied on the request. This is the rating system, which I had turned off previously. You can turn that back on again. And then for different types of requests, you can also enable certain options. The point is that the forms can be as simple or as complex as you need them to be based on how your village operates. And you can see a lot of other configuration options here. I mean, I won't run through them, but as you scan down the screen, you can see that we really give you a lot of flexibility to customize the platform for how your village wants to operate. And it comes up in almost every session. When you've seen one village, you've seen one village, because every village is different in a lot of ways. And so we want to make things as flexible as possible so that you can configure the platform for how your village likes to run. Now, we have a couple of other ways in which members can be assigned or volunteers can be assigned to service requests. One of them is this feature called automated email open requests, which we added last year. And it allows you to automatically send out an email to your volunteers that shows them all open requests. And you can configure the frequency that that email gets sent out. So for example, if it gets sent daily, which days of the week is it going to be sent? Does it send weekly? Now it's, these are radio buttons. Periodically is, send every 7 days, for example, starting on that frequency. How far out do you want the service requests to go? Well, for example, we want the emails to be sent out for all service requests coming up in the next 14 days. Now, for volunteers, member, non-member, and contractors, what kind of action do you want to happen? When the email goes out, the volunteer can see the service requests, and if there, no action is clicked, then they have to call and say, I can do this one. No action means we're not sending it to that group of people. Email means we're sending it to them only, but then they have to call. If it's email and sign up, then it means they can actually sign up for the service request directly from the email. They click a link on the email, it takes them to the platform, and they can sign up for that service request. And then those can be confirmed automatically, or we can set it up so that it's pending approval by the village. So this is what we call, the push method. You can actually push the service requests out to the volunteers. And if you have it configured for email and sign up, they can sign up for those requests themselves with minimal or no involvement from the village. We also have another model here called volunteer self-sign-up. And this is one we call the pool model, where basically volunteers, whether they're members or non-members, have the ability to log in and go to a special screen. So that, they're coming in themselves, go to a special screen where they can see the service requests that are available, and they can sign up for them online. So basically, there are sort of 3 different ways in which volunteers can be assigned to a service request. It can be done by the village, by a village case manager or service manager. It can be done by the volunteers being pushed out an email where they sign themselves up, or by the volunteers logging in and seeing what's available to them. So for example, here we have open member requests pending approval. So in the case where you've got volunteers signing up, but those assignments have to be approved, there's a screen that's available here that allows them to see what service requests are available. And Cubby is volunteering to do that service request, and you can basically approve that request. Okay. We have a lot of data exports built in that allow you to export your data, your service request, history, and all of the details. We have dozens of reports built in. All of these reports have extensive sorting and filtering options and output options that are built in as well. I think at last count, there's 50 or 60 reports that are available. And lots of information, volunteer time spent by category, mileage and expenses by member, again by category, things like that. So a lot of reports that are available. We also have a very, very powerful ad hoc reporting function that's available that allows you to create your own reports. And we're working with a number of villages on building, shared reports that are available as well. Okay. So what I want to do is look at a couple of other parts of the platform just to show you how the other parts of the platform come together. I want to start out by going, I'm logged in as Martin Smith. And here is Martin's profile. And what I can see on the profile screen is the ability for members to update their own basic information. You can also expand the database and ask your own questions. So in this case, we have a number of questions, and these are actually text questions. The answers can be in 25 different formats, but you can expand the database however you need it to be. We can also see, as a member, the village services. So here are a number of services that I, as a member, or Martin Smith, has actually received, and I can see the details of those requests. I can also create new requests. So for example, maybe I want to do technology help, and then I can select requests within that. Let's say Facebook help. A lot of people have been having problems with Facebook the last couple of days. The requested date and time, I can, need help sharing some photos with my family. So the idea here is that members, some members who may not be comfortable with technology will call the office and say, I need help, and the office will work through that with them. But you're also going to get members who are comfortable coming into a screen like this, entering their basic information and clicking save. So let's say, we'll say 10, 10, 21. And so what we've done is we've created this service request, and now it's been sent to the village, managers, and they can then start working the request or sending it out to volunteers to see if they're available. And there's a complete history as well of all of the details. So here are some details of the transportation request, a grocery trip, and all of that information available. Okay. Members can also see a complete history of every transaction they've done with the village, every payment they've made with the village, donations that they might have made. We have discussion forums if you want to enable them, and members can customize their involvement with the discussion forums. And over here, they can also see service requests that they are providing. So as Martin Smith, in addition to being a member, I might also be a volunteer, and I can see the service requests that I've provided to the office, and here are the details of that request. Okay. Now, all of that information that members can view and update themselves is also available to administrators. So when I go into the People Manager, let me just type in Smith, for example, click the search button. And so here is Martin Smith. And as an administrator, I can go in to Martin's profile, not as Martin, but as the administrator. And here is all of this information that's available, as a village administrator. I also have a number of options here, configuration settings. Members can sign themselves up, but as an admin, you can also add members by clicking that button here. And these are the different options that are available. And there's every time you see one of these screens, there's always a legend available that tells you exactly what's going on. So the People Manager allows us to manage members and non-members. Non-members can be prospective members. They can also be volunteers, contractors, local service agencies, government officials, press, things like that. Okay. Members can also obviously, sign up online, and one of the modules, there's about 25 different modules available in the platform. They're all included. You enable them, you configure them, and you use them. So for example, we have a membership sign-up wizard that allows members to sign up online. And here is how you can configure that wizard when members sign themselves up, or when an admin does it, when members renew, or an admin does it, first login. And there's all of these configuration settings that are available. Down here in the setup section, is where you could configure the member types. So for example, you might have an individual membership. And here's where you can configure all of the options for each member type. It has a duration, a name, a description. It has an availability. It links into a financial account. Obviously, we integrate with QuickBooks for accounting purposes. Does the membership require approval? You can have memberships that include multiple people, so a household membership. And then you can specify the fees for that membership, again, based on the duration. So you might have monthly or quarterly or annual or even, multi-year memberships that are available. So you can configure whatever member types you need for when members actually sign up. And you can have admin-only member types. So if you have special discounts for people that might be in financial difficulty, you can make those admin-only so that you can select them, but people who are signing up or renewing do not select them. Here is where you configure renewal and expiration settings. So, most villages will do rolling renewals based on the join date. The system will send out renewal notices automatically, and those can all be configured. And then you can configure how the system should handle expirations. Can expired members log in to renew their memberships? Yes or no? And the interesting thing about this screen is that it takes you about 2 minutes to configure it, and then you're done. And the system will handle renewals and expirations for you automatically. Additional member data is this feature that I mentioned earlier, where you can expand the database. So for example, I can create a question, and let's call it tech experience. And we're going to make this a radio button list. How comfortable are you with technology? Not at all. Little, moderate, very, used to be a CTO. Do you want to allow other? Yes or no? Do you want to allow comments? Which member types is this available to? Who's it visible to? The public, members, or admins only? Who can edit the answer? Members or admins only? Should it be on the membership application, and is it optional or required? And which levels does it apply to? So that's all you need to do to add a question and essentially expand the database. And now you can collect this additional information about your members. Okay, so, there's lots and lots of other things I could show you. We obviously also would be happy to do a more comprehensive demo for you. There are obviously features here that allow you to manage the website, manage the homepage, the overall look and feel of the website, to update the menus. I won't go through those right now. Here are all the features that allow you to manage transactions, payments, donations, bank accounts, financial accounts, things like that. Communications allow you to send out blast emailings, communicate using blogs or surveys or forums. You can create your own forms as well. We even support very powerful text messaging. And our support tab, all of the screens that we're looking at have online help. We have forums where admins can discuss issues with each other. Software manuals, hundreds of video tutorials that are available, recorded webinars, things like that. So let me just go back to PowerPoint very quickly and just mention one other thing. We charge a $150 one-time setup fee, and that provides support during the setup process and also importing whatever initial databases that you offer. We also have additional setup options. So you can pay more, and then we'll provide more help or actually do a lot of the initial setup for you. We have a very powerful village template. So when you sign up with Run My Village as a village, we start out with a template that was created by other villages that does a whole bunch of the initial configuration for you, and then it allows you to modify it to suit your local needs. In terms of our monthly fee, we charge 28 cents per active member per month, with a minimum fee of $24. And that includes unlimited telephone and email support. I think on that note, we've got about 5 minutes left. So I guess I'll turn it back to Barbara and Steve, see if there are any questions that were not answered. One of our director of education, Samantha Horio, was actually on the chat session. So hopefully she's been answering questions as we've been going along. But let's see if there's any other questions before we have to wrap up.
So I have a couple. I'll go through the Q&A a little bit. Samantha was great. She did field some of them. Kathy Pointer was on. Kathy, do you want to unmute and ask your question? Kathy? Yes? No? Okay. Come back. Dan?
Kathy, are you there?
Kathy?
She unmuted.
I know. Okay. No. Okay. I had a couple of questions. Can a member request a particular volunteer?
The member cannot request a volunteer through the user interface, but when the member is talking to the village case manager or service manager, they certainly can do that. And one thing I didn't mention is that we do have a very powerful feature that allows you to create recurring events or recurring service requests. So for example, if you have someone who needs to go for dialysis 2 or 3 times a week, or you have someone who's traveling and they need pet sitting, something like that, that's recurring, you can create this service request once and then replicate it multiple times throughout the schedule.
Does your, James Maxwell asks, does your exporting of the financial info go to QuickBooks Desktop or online, or both?
Both.
Okay, good. I thought so. Can volunteers edit their own profile?
Volunteers who are members can edit their own profile. If you enable the volunteer self-sign-up function, then volunteers who are not members can also update their own information.
Okay. Can members see the full list of service providers?
Members generally do not have access to the list of service providers. What most villages have told us is that they don't want members selecting somebody by name or it's really up to the village to determine who's available, what services they provide, when they're available, and so members do not see the list of service providers.
Okay, I think we're out of time. And any closing thoughts?
Thank you, Barbara. Again, I want to thank everybody for participating and for giving us the opportunity. We do have this demo club that I showed you, this demo village that I showed you earlier, and we'd be happy to give you access to the demo village so that you can explore. We also have salespeople here in the office who'd be very happy to give you a more comprehensive demo, answer any questions that you might have. And we also encourage you to look at the Run My Village users group that's running on the Village to Village Network website, because we have a really wonderful group of people there that provide mentoring and support that have been using Run My Village for many years and can certainly help as well answering questions. So thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you. And don't forget to visit our exhibitor hall because Dan, Manuel have loaded their conference space or exhibitor hall space with lots of goodies to look at, and you can explore it through that also. I'm going to turn this back over to Steve. And we're going to have a nice break. My dog needs to go out. Steve?
Here we go. Okay, we are going now. I think Travis has got a video that he's going to share first, or how are we going to do that?
Travis, you're going to do that first?
And it looks
Sure.
like
I can do
for
that.
everybody, if you come back at 3:15, that's when we start with grant writing for villages with Carol. And Carol, I am bringing you over to test your camera and mic. So if you want to.
Hey, why don't we put 10 minutes on the clock and we'll run the video at 10 minutes after. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Take a good break, guys.
Okay, and Carol, if you can you hear me, Carol?
Carol is muted if, Carol, if you don't realize it.
Here, let me, oh, Carol, let's see. Okay, Carol. There you go. Okay, Carol.
Yeah,
Okay.
share screen. I'll stop by the screen sharing. Do you want to continue?
Carol,
Yes,
okay, are you talking on the phone or are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
Okay, all right.
You can't share because you're sharing currently, Steve.
Yeah, I've got your slides. You wanted me to run the slides, right?
I'd love to do them myself if I can, but I've never been able to upload successfully.
Okay,
All you have to do,
yeah.
Carol, is start the PowerPoint on your
Okay.
computer and then share screen, and it should show up for everyone.
So you want to give it a shot?
So can it says if I start screen share, it will stop others screen sharing. Do you
That's
want?
fine. Yeah,
All right. Select a window or application that I want to share.
There should be a small icon that looks like your PowerPoint if you have it pulled up already.
It's, yeah, I have my desktop. Yes.
okay. And just so you know,
Right.
there's over 200 people listening to you and watching you. So let's make it quick.
Sorry, everybody. There I am. Am I on?
Okay. Yeah, so now start your slide deck, just so we know that you can run it. You know how to do that? Go where it says slideshow at the top. See where it says slideshow?
Yeah.
Click that. Now go to the left where it says from beginning.
Okay.
And then just advance one slide. Just, okay, perfect. You got it. Okay,
Hey.
I'm putting you behind the curtain. All right.